Little quick backstory. This is a Sterling Ray 5. The stock pickup is a ceramic crazy output, whatever. So this was a cheap replacement Alnico 5 magnet from Guitar Madness. Pole pieces rather than the steel with the ceramic pickups. Listen, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with ceramic pickups. I'm just saying that this is more probably what most people want from a Stingray. So this being in the $30 range as a replacement for these cheap Sterling basses is a huge improvement. So then this blade pickup you're seeing is made by Nova Pickups. A guy named Till makes these in Germany. I'll show you what the box looks like. And his thing is these blades. Like, this is kind of his signature. All of his pickups look like this. See that the blades have a split in them here, meaning that this is a quad coil. The benefits of that meaning that you can split to one side and be home canceling. Also, you'll notice that these blades are really close together. And on a regular Music Man, the pole pieces are far apart. Now, I haven't asked Till about this, but I can make some assumptions here. I think he makes all of his pickups the same way to begin with and then fits them into the form factor that they need to be. Meaning, this is probably the same dimensions on the inside as like a EMG 45 soap bar, which would be skinnier, but the blades would occupy the same distance from each other in there. So that gives this a very different character from this. Now, don't get me wrong, you still have Stingray DNA by the pickup location, but from the sound samples I recorded at the beginning, you will notice that this is deeper with a twang and not a lot of mid-range. This has a twang for sure, it's not as deep, and then the highs are very different present location. Now, I did wire this in parallel the same way that I had this wired, because that is the standard Stingray sound. This, to me, the character of the pickup sounds like an EMG DC model, which is not this size. A DC is a soap bar. If you're familiar with that pickup, you'll know what I'm talking about. I have a slap sample of me playing this that I'm going to insert here to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, I was slapping higher ground there, and it doesn't sound like a Stingray. Again, it's like a little bit of Stingray, but very different. So that makes this pickup something very interesting. I bring it up because the mid-range into the high mids, that character of this is the kind of thing that you distort and it just cuts through like a knife. It's like the Dingwall kind of character. I'm not saying it sounds the same, but it does the same deal. A Stingray cuts already. This cuts in an entirely different way. I'm still figuring out how I feel about it. It sounds very unique and very cool. And as I'm going to show you in some more samples, if you do just the front coil here, it gives you a really kind of cool sound that doesn't really sound like anything else. It's bordering on like Rickenbacker bridge pickup slash P-bass, which the pickup would fall here, but it's inline Alnico 8 for my model. It's pushed back a little bit, plus it's run through active. I'm going to show you it with some passive mode and tone styler roll off and show you some of the things that you can achieve with this that are really interesting. Here's what's pretty cool. You can solo the front coil of a Music Man pickup and it sounds really good. If you solo the front coil of this, you technically have two coils and it's hum canceling. I think that's pretty cool. Now, speaking to Till, or reading up on some of his other pickups, I had a misunderstanding. I don't think we communicated this quite well. I thought when you split this one, you could get an actual offset P-bass where you would get this coil here and then this coil here. But that is not what happens. You either get these two coils in line, the front pair or the back pair. I've opted to only have both coils in parallel or just the front. I don't really care to have just the back soloed. I think that's a little thin. So the cool thing is both in parallel have that EMG DC weird honky mid-range character I was talking about. Then you go to the front and it has a sort of a throaty guttural almost neck pickup kind of thing, but it's not a neck pickup. It's much tighter and more defined. And I ran it through some drive from this pedal. The entire demo is using the Sonic Cake B Factory. The first part is only this side with a tiny bit of bass boost, and then the later part, so you hear a little bit of drive breakup, I'm engaging the other side and just blending in the drive a little bit. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about this pickup. They are made in Germany. They are made to order. This particular one, right? So, you can contact Till. You can tell him the form factor of the pickup you want, the magnet you want. For me, he said Alnico 8, ceramic, or neodymium. I was like, this is great. There's no wrong choice. I'm going to do Alnico 8 because it's a Stingray. I'm coming from Alnico 5, and I've never had Alnico 8 in a pickup. Also, it should be a little bit warmer and less over the top than the ceramic and the neodymium. Now, the cool thing about neodymium is it's pretty even response across all frequencies, so I think that would have been my second choice. It's really kind of hard to say because, again, the design of this pickup brings it so far out of normal Stingray territory in my mind that I don't really know what I would want to go with, you know what I mean? But yeah, I contacted him, I told him this form factor, told him a little bit about the bass, told him the magnet I wanted to use. I did tell him that it was going to have an active preamp. He said that he does these sort of he sets them up to be low impedance for having a preamp, and then he tunes the resonance per pickup to sort of give you a little bit of a bite like I'm talking about. So I told him, yeah, I definitely want some bite for a bass like this. And bite it definitely does have. I think when I talk about tuning the resonance, it depends on where he's got the DC resistance of the pickup. I contacted him and paid in April, and he did disclose about 6 to 8 weeks to make the pickup. It took a little bit longer, and then I found myself toward the end of May, about 8 weeks, contacting him and saying, hey, I'm going out of town coming up here in June. I had actually planned on going out of town at the end of May, and he said, okay, well, he said, I can hold off on shipping it, or you can have somebody else home to bring it inside. They ended up needing a signature, and the post office held this pickup for a while. But I just really want to get the time frame across to you, because us being in America, if you're watching this from America, and buying something from Germany, from a small builder who's got a lot to do, I didn't get the pickup until I got home from my trip, which was like end of July. Right, and I paid and started the process in April. Now that's not going to be everybody's experience. He was very kind to, because there was a delay and things were longer than they should have been, he covered the shipping, which shipping from Germany to America fluctuates a lot, and it could be normal, affordable, or it could be outrageous. The pickup in euros is like $180, which is totally understandable. When you convert that to American dollars, this is like $200. So a little pricey. Again, not completely unheard of, though, when it comes to boutique builders building something that's really unique. So we're talking $200, fairly long lead time. Again, I'm not complaining, I'm not angry, none of this is like that. It's just something you really got to understand when you're buying something, you know, from a different country that has to go through this whole process. So I'm kind of at a loss, because on the one hand, if I have a Stingray, I want a Stingray. You know what I mean? So this is instant classic, and the reason that I had this pickup in here is because the stock pickup is a different character of Stingray. And then I even, if you've watched any of my videos, and I'll link some of them in the cards, I did a Nordstrand Alnico pickup, which I had noise problems with, and then I did an Aguilar DCB, which is dual ceramic and covered, and that's a different character. And then I went to the El Cheapy, which is actually the closest Music Man character, and then I wanted to try something completely different, which has a totally way off the wall character. So I like the uniqueness of this. It's like one of those things where, yes, you want to have a bass that sounds like nothing else, and you're like, yeah, this is cool. But what's more valuable, having a bass that sounds like nothing else, or having an actual recognizable Stingray tone for when you're like, I think a Stingray would sound good for this? That's a hard decision for me. Obviously, the correct answer is both, but I don't have 2 Stingrays. And I already have 6 basses, and now I play guitar, and I can't bring myself to buy another Stingray. So I'm just like, I'm torn. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's best to leave this in here or go to something more classic. Because this is fantastic. This is a great pickup. Obviously, like I just told you, I spent some money on it. The whole point of this was I have been investigating small builders whose stuff is out there a little bit, but they don't really have a whole lot of sound samples or really good sound samples. And this is me directly shooting these back to back. So you don't just hear this and go, okay, I'm not doing this with a ton of drive in this video. I'm doing this fairly just straightforward. This is what it sounds like, and this is what this sounds like. That's the difference. And that's the point here. I had a lot of fun doing this with 916 pickups, who I've been contacting, and now I've got his pickups in like 5-6 instruments over here. So I wanted to check out another small builder, and it's great that I have this experience now. So I'm by no means am I talking down to the pickup. I'm saying that this is very unique, very great, and probably based on some of the things I've noticed, his whole vibe, his deal would be this would be incredible for some really down-tuned, low, chuggy metal. I do want to check out both coils wired in series. However, that mid-range character is already so strong that I think I'm just going to bump up the mid-range, and then I'm not going to be digging it. So I think parallel and then use of onboard preamp to add some more bass and treble will really kind of bring it to its own, whatever. That is the one thing I can say about Stingray pickups, is they're kind of hollow, scooped, and then you add bass and treble EQ and they just become more scooped. This is really mid-rangey. You add bass and treble, you sort of flatten things out. You give it a balancing act of tone at that point. So yeah, let me know what you think and what you have thought about the process, the tones, the look. The look is cool.